Yo, how we doing?
What's up?
What we doing? We're back. It's another episode of the Cantina Corner. We had like a week off.
Week in Vegas.
Yeah, weekend in Vegas,
baby.
Whew. It was lit. We had to recover, so we took the weekend off. But we're back on the grind. And we're gonna recap some fucking football. Some football. A lot of shit happened this week. A lot of blowouts, honestly.
Yeah.
A lot of blowouts. Obviously, fantasy-wise, it was the friggin' 6-team week bye. So there were some ugly-ass rosters out there. But hopefully you pulled through. Joe, who's on our regular podcast, he pulled through. He had an ugly-ass lineup he put out there, including Justin Fields as his quarterback. Still got the win by 2 thanks to Indianapolis' defense.
It was rough.
But yeah, so there were some ugly lineups out there. But nonetheless, let's get into the games. I guess we should start with the Brownies versus the Broncos, because that was Thursday Night Football. A game that didn't feel like it was fucking a 3-point game, but it was.
Yeah.
It felt like the Browns had complete control of this, thanks to Dearness Johnson stepping up, being patient, having 22 rushes for 146 yards and a touchdown. He just did whatever he wanted to the Broncos defense.
Yeah, it was like it didn't really matter that we lost Chubb and Hunt at all.
Yeah,
like he dominated.
He stepped right in there.
And the line looked great too.
Yeah,
which it looked the last couple weeks kind of looked a little rough because I mean guys are roughed up and stuff, but that game, like the line looked really good too.
Yeah, Jedrick Wills was back. He looked healthy as he's looked since the beginning of the year. He was playing through some injuries with his ankle, and missed a few weeks. Conklin still out. Hopefully will return for Sunday versus Steelers. And Chubb, this is something I was going to bring up because Dearness Johnson was obviously probably a big time waiver wire guy for people that had Hunt or Chubb. Probably played him. You got a huge game out of him. You're liking what you see. Nick Chubb should be back this week, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think Dearness is droppable yet because Hunt's going to miss some games. I almost think Dearness takes Hunt's role. I think he's earned that. I think he's earned a drive or two to just kind of give Chubb a little bit of a break. He's coming back from a little bit of an ankle injury that Chubb had?
That was a calf injury.
Calf injury. So you might not want to give him the full load right away because he's used to having Hunt there, to be honest.
Yeah.
So I think you could see Dearness fall into that Hunt role, and he could still be productive in that role because obviously Kareem Hunt is Kareem Hunt, but he finds a way to be productive in that role. Honestly, the only other relative thing that happened in this game, fantasy-wise, was Jarvis Landry was back. Didn't have the greatest game, 5 catches, 37 yards, but he had 8 targets. He, coming back from the injury, he's the clear wide receiver 1 that you want in fantasy. He's your flex option on this team at wide receiver.
It was nice to see him back.
Odell is fully droppable in my eyes. I mean, we told you guys to stay away from him. We were Cleveland fans. We were staying away from him going into the drafts.
Yeah.
I think he's droppable at this point.
I'll be right back. Go ahead and keep going. Hold on one second.
Get out of here. Get out of here. He's got cats roaming around. And Teddy Bridgewater, he looked hurt. Who knows? The ankle injury's got to be more worse off than we thought. Because he didn't look fast. He didn't look quick. He got out of the pocket sometimes, but just didn't have it like Teddy stuff that we've seen in the past. So I think he's a little more banged up than what was let on.
All right.
And you're good. I was just saying, I think Teddy Bridgewater's a little more hurt than what was let on because he looked slow. He didn't look like Teddy.
No, not at all.
Getting out of the pocket, he looked a little slow. Melvin Gordon and Williams, same thing we've been saying since week 1. They're going to be a committee. They're going to continue to be a committee, whether you like it or not. Luckily, they both got touchdowns. So they kind of saved their fantasy days if you have either one of them. But here's the big thing I want to ask you. Tim Patrick, bad game. He's been very solid. Very solid flex play for people this year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Noah Fant's been up and down this year. Cortland Sutton's been going off the last few weeks. Kind of finally had a come to earth game. Came back down to earth. Jerry Jeudy is supposed to return this week. Who do you think that affects the most in this offense?
Probably Tim Patrick.
You think Tim Patrick phases out?
I think so, yeah.
I tend to agree with you.
I think with their two running backs, they're going to have Fant out there to block as a tight end as well as pass catching. And though Tim Patrick does look like a decent receiver, I think the only reason he has been solid is because he's had the playing time.
Yeah.
So I think his playing time, is probably going to take the biggest hit when Jeudy comes back.
Yeah, I think, honestly, if Jeudy is actually healthy and starts performing like Jerry Jeudy that we know he can and he was in the beginning of the year, I think it actually helps Noah Fant. I think it helps him.
Like open up some things for him underneath.
I think it opens up the middle of the field a little bit.
Yeah. I could see that for sure.
So that'll be interesting to keep looking on. But I mean, if Teddy's hurt, it's not going to matter much, to be honest with you. So
no.
Hopefully he's not too bad. They have the extra days off, being off playing Thursday. So moving on from that one. I've got next up, I got the Packers versus the Washington football team. And this game was, we watched a little bit of this game. It felt like it was over with like halfway through it, but it was like every time we turned it on, Washington had the ball looking like they were going to score, but then there was like 15 different challenges in the span of like 5 minutes. It was so ridiculous.
That's the one thing I really remember most about this game is there was like just a lull for like 20 fucking minutes of just God.
And there was like back-to-back fumble challenges.
Yeah,
it was crazy.
I think that did help it make it seem just a boring kind of blog game.
I'll tell you who was definitely a boring game for was Aaron Jones. 6 rushing attempts. 6 rushing attempts for 19 yards. Here's my thing. I don't know if that is game plan or Aaron Jones just wasn't having it, because Washington's secondary is abysmal. And you have Aaron Rodgers. I see that could have been part of the game plan going in. We're just going to attack these guys. Because A.J. Dillon didn't do anything either. Green Bay just flat out didn't run the ball very well. Like I said, whether that was game plan or not, I'm not sure.
It could have been maybe that D-line just showing up a little bit, you know?
It could have been that.
Because like those guys are still talented. It's just weird, like that they've taken such a step back.
Yeah,
like even say they were playing out of their minds last year, you wouldn't think a step back from that would be this drastic.
Yeah, and it goes hand in hand, right? The secondary is like 30th against the pass, so it's like they're so bad. Like the D-line doesn't have time to get there because there's fucking guys running open all over the damn field.
Yep.
So it's just like it's a 1-2 combination with them, I feel like. But the other person who had a terrible game was the running back on the other side, Antonio Gibson. Another bad performance. 14 rushing attempts for 51 yards. And J.D. McKissick still is the third down back when they get down and they need to throw. J.D. McKissick is in the game. I mean, J.D. McKissick is going to hold back Gibson's ceiling. It's so funny, those reports. People were freaking out. Oh, like Antonio Gibson's going to take a McCaffrey role. Like, that's not even remotely close. He doesn't even get the handoffs that McCaffrey gets in Carolina's offense. And McKissick's the clear receiving back. So moving forward, I would say Antonio Gibson's like a middle of the road RB2, to be quite honest with you. That's not what you drafted him for.
No.
But that's why I traded him a few weeks ago.
Heineke was their best running back.
Heineke had 95 yards rushing. Not a great day through the air. But 95 yards rushing, that'll help your fantasy day as a quarterback.
Absolutely.
So, guys who did have solid games, Skirtar, F1 McLaurin, fucking getting it done.
It was nice to see him back too after 2 down weeks. That's why I know we were talking about it Sunday, and I was saying I think that hamstring bothered him maybe a little bit more than we thought it would, and I think it's kind of healthy. This game looks like he's back to being healthy. So.
Yeah, he looked good. 7 catches, 122 yards, and a touchdown. I believe that touchdown was like a 44-yarder if I remember correctly. But also had 12 targets. That's huge.
Yeah,
he's the clear like number 1, number 2 option there. He's just like everything in between. The other guy, surprising, and I think it's about time like he probably gets some respect thrown on his name, is RSJ, Ricky Seals-Jones.
Ricky Seals-Jones.
Hey, 6 catches, 51 yards, 7 targets. I mean, since Logan Thomas has been out, he's been a tight end 1 option. I mean, you got people who are rostering Robert Tonyan and Ricky Seals-Jones on the waiver wire. Tonyan, had a nice game this week, had the touchdown, but Ricky Seals-Jones has been very solid since he stepped in. Very solid.
I see that. Yeah, that's not bad. Since week 5, he had 9, 15, and 11 these last 3 weeks. That's not
bad. He's kind of building to be rostered and possibly started. Because tight ends have been a freaking crapshoot. If you don't have a top 5 guy, you don't have shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, this game was every bit of ugly, every bit of the score. It was 24-10 in favor of the Packers, but not a whole lot going on fantasy wise besides pretty much Scary Terry had the big game here. Devontae Adams had like the quietest 19-20 point fantasy game you could possibly have.
Yeah.
Which is crazy to say. Next game. This was like the first blowout of the day. That was like, holy shit, this is a surprise. The Tennessee Titans taking it to the Chiefs 27-3. Just absolutely obliterating the Chiefs.
It's so weird to see the Chiefs right now, and like I don't understand it. It honestly is really weird.
I'll tell you, it's a little bit of luck running out, I feel like, because there's a lot of passes that Mahomes makes in the past, or passes that get deflected that aren't getting picked. But I was reading something like on like 60% of his interceptions are tipped balls. So like deflected passes getting intercepted from Mahomes. So it's just not there right now. Nothing's clicking. And I'll be honest. And me and Joe talked about this. You had to leave, but we talked about this a little bit Sunday. Outside of Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, what does their offense have?
Nothing. They
Honestly,
haven't had a good run game in a long, long time.
Yeah. And I feel like people are starting to just put those bigger safeties on Travis, try to take away the middle of field from him, and they're just corner and safety on Tyreek Hill the whole time. Let McCole Hardman beat us. Like, it's just not happening.
And Josh Gordon ain't really
Josh
doing
Gordon
nothing as of yet. So.
Is he even rostered? Their offense is nothing. It's like, it's very top heavy. It almost reminds me like of an NBA roster where it's so talented at the top, fucking unbelievably talented. Even defensively, like Tyrann Mathieu. And it's just, but there's just nothing after that. There's no middle guys that hold it up. And they're not in a good place. I honestly, they're 3-4 right now. They are a team that could absolutely rattle off 9 wins in a row because they have Patrick Mahomes, who did leave with a concussion but was cleared through protocol.
Yeah, that play looked rough too.
He got smacked, bro.
When you see it in the replay, it almost is like, damn, how did his head not come off? Because that thing bent back.
You know what's funny? This isn't funny, but I found it pretty hilarious. A guy on the radio, Ken Carmen, he brought up this morning, he was like, his brother got in a lot of shit for doing a TikTok dance on Sean Taylor's number last week. Washington was retiring Sean Taylor's number, and Jackson Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes' little brother, went through the roped off area on top of his number and did like a TikTok dance on it and was like, oh, I didn't mean any disrespect. And Ken Carmen was like, Sean Taylor was a headhunter. It's spooky season. And Patrick Mahomes got his head hunted. And I was like, you know what? I've seen weirder shit. But yeah, I'm sure that made Sean Taylor happy somewhere. But
God, every time he's brought up, I just miss like
Oh, just nailing a punter in the Pro Bowl with no regard for human life, dude.
No,
I love
the
it.
dude was one of the one of our favorites growing up
yeah.
watching him. It was like one of the best football players.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
god.
a dude, like, when I think about like legends jerseys that I would get, he's like right up there at the top.
Yeah,
right
absolutely.
up there at the top. But yeah, Kansas City's 3-4. They could obviously rip off 9 wins in a row. I honestly think there's a chance they miss the playoffs, which is crazy to think about. They've been in the last 2 Super Bowls. There's 10 teams in contention for the AFC playoffs right now, and the Chiefs aren't one of them.
I want to see what their standings are because I know Oakland's still playing solid. And then what they got?
Yeah, the Chargers.
Broncos at the bottom.
Chargers are what, 4-2. The Raiders are now 5-2. So they're
5-2, 4-2, and then Chiefs are 3-4. But yeah, Raiders, Chargers.
Yeah, and then obviously the Broncos.
Are
at the bottom of that division. But it's not looking good for the Chiefs. They got a long road ahead of them, and they got to win some games.
Yeah, and it's
they
like
got a
how
tough
long
schedule.
are the Raiders still gonna play? Good, you know.
Yeah,
I'm still waiting for that kind of downturn. I didn't know if maybe. I guess I kind of thought it'd be immediate from the John Gruden firing to them not playing as well.
Yeah.
To maybe that be an impact, but I mean,
it hasn't been.
Like it. No.
Couple more notable things from the Tennessee game. Derrick Henry did not have the Derrick Henry game. 29 attempts. You were assuming I'm going to say 200 yards, but it was only 86. 3 yards per carry from Derrick Henry. Crazy to think that they won 27-3 and Henry had 86 yards on 29 attempts. AJ Brown was the star of the offense. 8 receptions, 133 yards and a touchdown on 9 targets. Still coming off that injury 2 weeks ago and just looking like he's just back. Earlier in the year, him and Tannehill were not on the same page. In the last 2 weeks, it looks like they're right on cue together. So that's nice to see. Also, I think Tannehill's like not a QB1 anymore in fantasy, but that's another option. That's another story for another day. Next game we're going to talk about was just a fucking shit bowl. The Falcons get the dub to go to 3-3 versus the Miami Dolphins. We're now 1-6 and probably trading for Deshaun Watson. Which we'll talk about that in a second. We'll talk about that in a second because I got an opinion on that. But your current fantasy league winner player, Cordell Patterson, probably going to end up winning somebody their league because they picked him up on the free agent wire.
I mean, if this dude keeps this shit up, my God.
And especially after this week, it finally happened. Mike Davis, I believe, had 4 rushing attempts. Cordell Patterson had 14. Finally took over as the runner. Only had 60 yards, had 5 targets, didn't do absolutely anything with them, had 2 catches for 1 yard. But if he continues to be like their guy going forward, he's an absolute low-end RB1, high-end RB2 option in fantasy and probably going to win somebody their league. Kyle Pitts, has he arrived? I mean, can we say it?
I think
it's just 2 weeks now.
You know, and he's been getting the volume too, so it is kind of about time. Like, honestly, outside of 1 week, he hasn't had less than 6 targets. 8, 6, 3, 9, 10 by week 8.
Right.
So, like, again, he's getting the volume, and I think it was just a matter of time.
Yeah. And he's making one-handed catches. He's making catches over the shoulder. He's mossing people.
That catch was nasty.
Yeah, it was. He had 7 for 163 on 8 targets. Huge game from him. I believe as a rookie tight end, that's 21. It was like the weirdest stat in the world. It was like a 21-year-old rookie tight end. This is the most yards ever that one's put up in a single game.
That's okay. I got this one. It's not with age though, so it's probably
it was with age. They specifically said 21-year-old rookie. Like the previous record was like 140 yards.
He's got the second most receiving yards in a game by a rookie tight end since the 1970 merger.
Yeah, which is still insane as it is.
Yeah.
He does look like a wide receiver. So other guy I want to talk about on this offense, it's probably the third guy that this offense runs through, and that's Calvin Ridley. You look at his stat line, 4 for 25 and a touchdown, and it's like he just continues to be okay. He's not like putting up those terrible games where you're like, what the fuck? But it's like not Calvin Ridley. He doesn't look like Calvin Ridley. He had 10 targets in this game, only caught 4 of them.
Yeah, 10 targets, you would think for sure Calvin Ridley getting 10 targets would produce more than that.
I'm almost wondering, I mean, and this is going to sound weird, but like if he's hurt or if he's having like a mental issue, because remember a few weeks ago he was stepping away for personal reasons, missed the London game, missed the bye week obviously, and then he came back. Like, is his heart in the game? Does he miss Julio? Like, what? Is there something there? Is there something there?
It could very well be something like that.
Because there's no deep shots going down the field. I mean, it just doesn't seem like Ridley. But again, if you have him, he hasn't done so little to where you're pissed off at him, but you're just like, come on. It's like you're poking him to make sure he's alive. You're like, hello?
He's still, something's in there.
Yeah.
Something's beating.
I'm just waiting for that game, man. I have a ton of shares of Calvin Ridley. So I'm waiting for that game. But 10 targets like makes me feel good. It's like, all right, he's still a part of this offense for sure. But the touchdown saved his day. He would have had an abysmal day without the touchdown. On the other side of the things in Miami, I think we're starting to have a tight end emerge. And Mike Gesicki. 7 for 85 and a touchdown off 8 targets. This is now like 3-4 weeks in a row now where Gesicki's having solid games and putting some games together. Yeah. After starting the season off horribly. I have him in a league, and remember I was like ready to drop him and ship him off. I mean, I picked up David Njoku and played him for a week just to teach Gesicki a lesson. Message received, bro. Message received.
Honestly. He really has not been bad. Even so the first week he had 0 on 2 targets, but then second week, 7 points for a tight end. Not terrible. Then 18 and 16 the next 2 weeks. And then 8 points against Tampa Bay in week 5. And then the last 2 weeks, 21. So, I mean,
he's been playing lights out lately.
Absolutely.
And the way tight ends have been, I mean, if he keeps this up, he's going to finish tight end 4 or something like that, because tight ends have been fucking garbage. Per usual. The other guy in this offense, I mean, I call him a young Jarvis Landry all the time. Jalen Waddle, 7 for 83, 8 targets. Just a solid ass game. He will become more valuable when they trade for Deshaun Watson. I'm starting to get in a camp where I think it's going to happen. This is 2 weeks in a row now where the reports have come out. I think Houston's kind of pushing the reports like, oh, we're going to do this to Miami to try to get someone else to bite. But I wanted to ask you this question. If you are a GM and let's just say you're the Browns, Baker Mayfield's hurt, do you make that trade?
No.
If you're Miami, do you make that trade?
No, not for a dude who's got 21 alleged counts of rape. That's 21 counts, or at least sexual misconduct. I know it's not all rape, whatever. Well, it's a lot of different allegations and stuff.
What about the Steelers? Your PR firm's already got some experience with that.
I mean, in that case, you're right. They do have a history of already dabbling in that kind of stuff. So maybe in their case they would do that. I personally wouldn't, though. Not with that. If it was maybe just I don't know, not so much because it just gives me Cosby vibes, where it's
I agree. It's
where
disgusting.
It's there's so many there. It's man, but there's a couple of these that for sure
there's a possibility that it comes out where he doesn't have to do hard time or anything, or it's not as bad as it's portrayed. I mean, a lot of this, I think there's a lot of back and forth of the Texans making it seem worse than it was. Even though, it's disgusting. 21 counts is disgusting, regardless of what it is.
Yeah.
But there was
I agree with that. I think there's a lot of that. I was watching this video on it breaking down how the timing of these allegations when they'd come out, and then when Deshaun Watson would make statements or kind of do basically a counter to whatever they were doing at the time. And there is a lot of back and forth. I do think a lot of it is kind of that stuff blowing
up. And a few of them have come out and retract their thing. So who knows? I mean, legally, this could go through an investigation, and it could be like, yeah, we're not really finding anything that he's technically guilty of. Just like the Trevor Bauer situation, he was sent home pretty much from the Dodgers, and there's more and more evidence coming out that he probably was in the right and not the wrong, even though it's fucked up. That whole thing was fucked up, but
yeah.
It's a touchy situation.
But
if I'm the Dolphins, I think I make the trade.
I would do this. All right. What I would do is, since I'm an owner of an NFL team, I have a shit ton of fucking resources at my disposal. I would use that and do as much investigation as possible. If that's what it's seeming like, then maybe I'd, pull the trigger on it and just launch a massive PR campaign. But
here's why I brought up the Browns. Okay. Obviously, it's going to take a fucking haul, right?
Yeah.
Baker probably in that deal. Would you think? I mean, I would think Tua would be in the deal if Miami did it.
Yeah,
I would just assume that.
Yeah.
And probably 3 first rounders. If you're the Browns, do you think about that in terms of the NFL does not do anything until the legal matter is over? So until he's actually charged with something or the court system's over with, which they're not doing until the end of the year, they've already said the court date's in like February or something like that.
Okay.
Then the NFL might discipline him. Because remember, he's not suspended right now. The Texans just aren't playing him because he doesn't want to play for the Texans.
Yeah.
So if you trade for him to tomorrow, he could play for you Sunday, technically. So if you're the Browns in a situation you're in with this talented roster, you just say, fuck it, we're going all in. We're gonna try to ride it out, play him right away. And then, hey, if he gets suspended for 8 games next year, we bite the bullet for eight games next year. But we have Deshaun Watson, who was a top 3 quarterback. The same thing with Miami. I mean, that kind of fixes their QB search that they've been going through. Many teams. There's other teams like Pittsburgh, for example. That's the worst case scenario is he ends up on Pittsburgh, in my opinion. But obviously, I don't want to have to face Lamar Jackson, Deshaun Watson, and fucking Joey B. No, thank you.
No.
But I really do think he's going to end up going to Miami. He's got a no trade clause, so he has to accept the deal. I was reading there was already things he said he wants to go to Miami. One of the things it was like a sports comedian on Twitter. He was like, "Yeah, he wants to go to Miami. There's better looking women to touch." It was a little, it's fucking hilarious. It's a joke.
I'm not gonna lie. If it was kind of a joke, I was just laughing about it in my head.
Yeah, I mean, it's
just
joke.
Something similar. Like, of course you'd want to go to Miami,
right? Yeah. But interesting thing to take care of if you're in fantasy. Trade deadline's heating up. I'm gonna be honest with you. We're in a couple super flex leagues and 2 QB leagues. If he's available, I haven't looked. I'm pretty sure in one of our leagues somebody drafted him and kept him on the roster. I might look and picking him up. I might look at it because if he ends up playing, it's fucking Deshaun Watson. So
yeah. The dude's
he's a top. He was a top 3 QB when he was playing in real life and in fantasy. So
yes, consistently.
Yeah. All right, so moving on from that, Deshaun Watson got enough service on this podcast today. Next game we got was like the biggest blowout of the day. So we won't spend much time on it because the Jets didn't spend much time playing this game. The Patriots absolutely fucking destroyed the Jets, 54-13. Mac Jones looked fucking great, but it's the Jets. Damian Harris is a fucking workhorse. 14 carries, 106 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah,
looking
that
great.
was nice to see.
Yeah, he's like for everybody who used to say, "What?"
I thought Kamara was about to house it.
Oh, damn! That would have sucked.
Sorry, I got a little excited. Oh, yeah,
playing against them.
Damn it. Well,
anyways,
whatever. This week's been a conflicting week for
me. It has
been
fantasy.
A conflicting week. It's been very it's been tough.
For years it was, you don't want a New England running back. It's split backfield. Damian Harris is a workhorse. Bill Belichick trusts him.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He's the guy you want in that backfield. Brandon Bolden has kind of taken over the James White role of receiving. So in a PPR league, I'm fine with having Bolden, but that's like a desperate.
Yeah, a deeper league maybe.
Yeah.
Just pick him up for, he might not play often, but in deeper leagues,
you might need RB
he's
depth,
definitely
man.
worth the depth. Yeah. It's tough. In my work league, I traded for James White earlier in the season. I didn't even get him 1 week. Literally after that trade went through, that night was the what game was it that he got hurt in? I can't remember which week it was, but literally, or maybe it wasn't that night, but that same week that I traded for him, he got hurt immediately out for the year.
Yeah.
Then I just traded for Kareem Hunt. I got one game out of him. It was a monster game, the 29-something point game. And then he's on the IR. So
yeah, we'll stop trading for guys that I have on my roster. Well, I have James White and Kareem Hunt, you fucker.
Well, but that's where I would think about picking up Brandon Bolden because I'm really scraping the bottom of the barrel with those two dudes hurt.
Or trade for Joe Mixon, like I did.
I just traded.
Joe Mixon's annoying as fuck.
I don't really have a whole lot left to trade. And I traded Waddle and Hines for Kareem Hunt.
Yeah.
So
it's working out.
Tough.
Even though Hunt's out, Hines hasn't done shit.
No, honestly, it's still solid.
Waddle.
But it just sucks that IR designation.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be out for quite a while too.
Also, I wrote down this because there wasn't anything to talk about on the Jets other than Wilson got hurt. Looks like he's going to be out 2 to 4 weeks. They traded for Joe Flacco, bringing him back. But something I wanted to note, Michael Carter, 8 receptions, 67 yards on 9 targets. Ty Johnson, the backup running back, 6 receptions, 65 yards on 7 targets. This is what happens when starting quarterbacks are hurt. A lot of dump offs. So these guys might be on your waiver wire target list. Maybe not Carter, but Ty Johnson will probably be out there just at a deep necessary need.
Yeah, just like we talked about Brandon Bolden.
Yes,
it's another kind of situation like that. Like in some leagues, it's so deep in running back injuries, they happen every year. And this year, a lot of people are in that same boat.
Yes, sir.
These are targets for sure for that.
A game I didn't really write down any statistics for. Panthers Giants. This game was dog shit. At one point it was 3-2.
I remember I showed up I think about an hour later or so, and when I got there you guys were telling me it was 3-2 and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
It makes sense in my brain for a moment. It was a little weird.
Sam Darnold looked like shit. He got benched. Supposedly he's going to be the starter again. Daniel Jones actually had a solid game they don't have any weapons. The Giants are so fucking hurt. It's not even funny. Yeah. I think Slayton came back, had a solid game, but they're so hurt. It's like nothing fantasy relevant happened in this game whatsoever. And this game was dog shit. So that's what I have to say on that.
That's really about it for that one. Because even, what's his face? For the Panthers, DJ Moore didn't really do much. I mean, he's 6 for 73, it'd be about 13 points PPR. It's not bad, but there really wasn't much going on outside of him fantasy wise.
Yeah. Oh, also, I just thought of this. Talking about the Jets trading for Flacco. If you don't have a good defense in fantasy, you could probably streamline whoever the fuck the Jets are playing versus Joe Flacco. I think they play the Bengals next week.
Yeah,
Bengals D is probably out there. If you got I don't know, the Eagles defense or the Raiders defense or something that's not that great, I would maybe just swap that out for a week and try to get the Jets. I don't know who they play the rest of the way, but that might be a solid defensive option going down the stretch.
So I'm pulling up Wilson too to see what the extent of that injury is. So he's slated to miss 2 to 4 weeks with a PCL injury. I know we watched it in replay and it kind of looked a little gross the way his leg was just contorting. Oh.
And then he stayed in the game after that hit, and then it was the second hit he got hit in the same leg, and they were like, we're taking him out.
Yeah.
Which the dude's already been getting murdered. They need an offensive line worse than Joey B did last year.
Joey B can overcome that somewhat. He's the GOAT, but
somewhat.
Wilson.
Let's get into the somewhat, bruh. Fucking Bengals absolutely annihilating the Ravens at home to take the number 1 seed in the AFC. Who had that fucking 7 weeks in? Me? No, I'm just kidding. But I was super high on the Bengals. You can't even fucking say I wasn't.
No, I think they're gonna take this division after seeing that beatdown.
Hey.
I know. Yeah, it's tough, and it kind of really sucks because I don't even know if the Browns can split these games with them now. The way they're playing this season, I think, because I mean, you've seen it last year when the Browns played them. Like the only reason they were in those games was because
Joey
Burrow. So it's like now this year, it's just a whole other level.
Their defense is playing fucking so much better than it did last year. Yeah. The additions they made on defense made a huge impact, including former Brown Larry Ogunjobi. He was fucking all over the field against Lamar. Lamar struggled in this game. I mean, he had a ton of throws that were just off. He did have like 88 yards rushing, but there were a lot of times where he was just bottled up.
Yeah.
And couldn't get out of the pocket.
15 for 31.
Yeah.
So he's like, that's terrible.
Yeah. He had one huge run, but it got called back for holding. But yeah, Joey B just stepped in and just the 3 targets to Uzama. All 3 were catches for 91 yards and 2 touchdowns. Efficient as hell.
Yeah.
T. Higgins led the team in targets with 15. He had 7 receptions for 62 yards. And the man of the hour, fucking Jamar Chase, 8 for 201 and a touchdown on 10 targets. Jamar Chase is elite.
He's making his case for actually I don't even know another rookie that's coming close right now.
Not even a chance.
I really I was just saying making his case, but as I went to say that, I'm like, there's nobody else I can think of right now that is even coming close to what he's doing.
Trevor Lawrence is starting to play good, but it's a Jamar Chase show. I mean, Jamar Chase, it's like every week you turn on TV, he's catching a fucking 60-yard bomb.
Yeah.
This week it was 82
that one
yards.
He escaped from, was it like 3 or 4
three broken tackles, 3 broken tackles, and burned the safety that came up to make the play. And it was 82 yards. It was a fucking 8-yard slant that turned into 82 yards to the house. He looks elite. I was looking his like separator number, like in terms of like separation between defenders. He's already top 5 in the NFL. He's showing it because Joey Burrow's hitting him. They already have that chemistry built up. I mean, maybe you don't need a Hall of Fame offensive lineman when you can get a chemistry with a wide receiver right away.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't need any time to practice. They already had that built up. I did see something that somebody said the Bengals should trade Tyler Boyd and like a 1st-round pick or something. It was some weird-ass trade, but for Justin Jefferson and get the whole band back together. And I was like, Jesus criminy.
That'd be insane.
I don't see that happening, obviously, but that would be nuts.
Yeah.
But Joe Burrow, a.k.a. the GOAT, 416 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 1 pick that was just a really weird throw that he shouldn't have thrown. He underthrew. Honestly, he probably could have hit Jamar Chase for a touchdown on that throw, but he underthrew it like a mofo. But it didn't really matter. I mean, 41-17, it was a blowout. Joe Mixon had an game, but Joe Burrow was slinging it, and they weren't stopping it. They didn't take the ball out of his hands, which I think you're going to see a lot of if you're a Mixon owner. Is if Burrow gets on a roll, they're just going to ride it, and they're not going to stop. Which I love.
It definitely. The beginning of the season, they were trying to run it more. I think give Burrow that time to really make sure it was healed up his leg before they started letting him sling it. But now, I think they're about to just kind of take the reins off and be like, all right, go get it.
Yeah, he looks fully healthy. He's trusting his knee.
Yeah.
I said this to a guy at work today because, I mean, obviously you and Joe know I've been calling Joe Burrow the GOAT for the last 2 years. I have a severe bias towards him being a good player, but I've been telling this dude at work all year, like, Joe Burrow's fucking real deal. And he's been hesitant, and he finally was like, I don't want to say he's legit yet. And I'm like, dude, that's just your fucking Browns bias, like not allowing you to just enjoy. It sucks, but dude, let's just enjoy this greatness that we're watching. And I was like, I gotta be honest with you, dude. He's the only QB in the league that ever gave me these vibes, and it happened yesterday again. The way his pocket presence was, and the way he was sidestepping guys coming right at him, it's fucking Tom Brady-esque, dude. Mm-hmm. Brady does the same shit, the little fucking, like, not even a yard sidestep, but the guy just completely whiffs, and then he ends up hitting a fucking receiver down the field. Like, and Burrow did that multiple times yesterday. So I think he's the real deal. Obviously, he's a fucking GOAT. But let's get into the Ravens, who were important, I guess. They had 2 wide receivers show up. Bateman coming back. Finally, 6 targets, 3 receptions, 80 yards. Solid flex play, I think, going forward. And you are frozen as hell. Yeah, your shit is fucked up. You're frozen. There you go. You're back. Now you're frozen again. Nope, now you're back. Say something, dude. Say something to the people. There you go.
Dude, they just, like, I don't know what the hell just happened. That was weird.
Aliens coming, dude?
It sounds like it. With the way it was fucking up in your voice, it was sounding like aliens. I was like, oh shit, this is how it ends, dude.
This is it. This is it. They got me. They found me. But I was saying Rashad Bateman looks like a flex play going forward. Solid 3 receptions for 80 yards, 6 targets. Hollywood Brown is a must start at this point.
Absolutely.
5 receptions for 80 yards and a touchdown on 14 fucking targets. Should have had another touchdown bomb, but Lamar threw it into the fucking sideline instead of hitting Hollywood in bounds. Otherwise, he'd have over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But he's looking like a definite top 5, top 8 wide receiver, I think, going forward. Moving on to the next game. What we got here? The Eagles at the Raiders. Right?
All right, I think I'm back.
You're back. You're back. I hear you. The Raiders kind of dominated this game early, and the Eagles kind of came back and made it look closer than it really was.
Some garbage time shit.
Yeah, there was a lot of garbage time shit, but there's some notable things that happened here. Josh Jacobs, again, hurt, leaves the game after going 6 attempts, 29 yards, and a touchdown. Leaves the game with chest pain. They don't think it's a serious injury, but it was precautionary that he left the game. Kenyon Drake stepped in, 14 rushes, 69 yards, and a touchdown. Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
Can't complain.
Moving forward, I mean, if he's got a free agency with Jacobs out again, he probably shouldn't be on your waiver wire, but hell, if he is, I'd snap him up.
Yeah.
Here's the big one. Miles Sanders carted off the field with an ankle injury. Designated as week to week today. But it looked bad the way he was crying, getting carted off the field. But
so I just looked.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I just looked it up and seen it was week to week, and I kind of was like, I thought the same. Like it looked a little more serious, but
I'm almost thinking maybe that was some I get hurt every year. Fuck it, it happened again. Type like tears, like get me off this field. Maybe he just physically thought it was worse mentally than it really was.
Could very well have been that.
But they're saying that it kind of looks like the Saquon injury, so might miss a week or 2. Jalen Hurts, I mean, as another terrible game in real life, but fantasy-wise, the dude just continues to produce. It's fucking stupid at this point. This is basically what I thought he would be, but it's a lot more consistent than I thought it would be. He hasn't really had a down week. I saw something today where 75% of his fantasy points are coming in the fourth quarter of games. So he is getting some garbage time fucking fantasy points. And if you have them, you're here for it. I mean, you're absolutely here for it.
Right until it runs out.
61 rushing yards for Hurts. Didn't really do shit throwing the ball. I think Dallas Goedert was their leading receiver, which isn't a shocker because their wide receiving core is not great. But other than that, the Raiders, the biggest thing I think is Jacobs getting hurt and Darren Waller missing the game with an ankle injury. I think they have a bye week next week, if I remember correctly. So he should be back after the bye. But if not, I think Hunter Renfrow is a must play, and the backup tight end had a really solid game too. So he might be an option.
Bye week next week.
In terms of the Miles Sanders injury, I think Kenneth Gainwell has to be rostered now.
Yeah.
And what is it? Byron Scott, right? That's his name. I put Scott here. I should have put Boston Scott, dude.
Yeah.
Gave him the deuces.
It is Boston Scott.
Is it Boston Scott? Is it Bart Scott that said peace? I gave him the deuces.
Bart Scott, yeah. But
peace. I gave him the deuces. Kenneth Gainwell. Just little information here for you. This is what we do. Kenneth Gainwell had 35 snaps after Miles Sanders got hurt. 24 of them were routes that he ran out of the backfield. So didn't get many rushing attempts, but like we've said for I think the last 2 weeks, Kenneth Gainwell is a solid back to have in PPR because he's the route guy. And Scott had 23 snaps, only 12 routes. So he was mostly in there to run the football. He had more rushing attempts than Gainwell, even though Gainwell had more snaps. I still think Gainwell's the guy you want in this backfield.
I agree, especially if, like you said, a lot of Jalen Hurts' production's coming in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of garbage time shit for this team, so that does fit Gainwell more because garbage time, they're catching up, they're running routes, or they're going to have him be running routes, they're going to be passing. So
yeah. Plus, Gainwell's already had a role in this offense, right? So it's just happened. My computer just went crazy. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right. But yeah, so I would own Gainwell over Scott if I had to. But moving on to the next game. This game was fun to watch for a little bit. No, for the whole fucking thing, it was fun to watch, let's be honest. Detroit Lions at the Rams. Crazy game. Lions had 2 fake punts, a fucking onside kick to start the game. They got up 10-0 and still ended up losing by like 9 or something like that.
I had to miss some of this game. I missed, I think, both those fake punts.
Yeah. It was crazy. One of them was a fake punt where they threw the ball, and then the other one was a run, and they both worked to perfection. But when you're 0-6, you had nothing to lose except for that game. So, and now they're 0-7. So, but mainly that's because of Cooper Kupp. 10 receptions, 156 yards, and 2 touchdowns on 13 targets. If you listened to us before the season, you drafted Cooper Kupp, and you're in love with us because we fucking told you. Cooper Kupp would be the number 1 target in this offense and a top 5 wide receiver, and he's the number 1 wide receiver, and he's the number 1 target in this offense.
Yes.
So that being said,
all them boxes.
He's checked all the boxes.
Fucking monster.
Robert Woods, 6 receptions, 70 yards. Okay game. But fuck him. Obviously Stafford had a huge game. Not as big of a game as I kind of expected. I was expecting like a fucking 400 point. I was expecting like a Joe Burrow performance, like 400 yards and just ripping them. But very solid game from him. Swift is kind of the only thing right now that I want to own in Detroit. I'm kind of getting off the Hawkinson train because Jared Goff has been fucking garbage.
Swift's been a fucking monster.
Swift has been a monster. There's a stat here. Hold on. I took a screenshot of it because I did not feel like fucking writing it down whatsoever. I'll be completely honest with you. But I have it right here from Adam. What is this? Adam Levitan? I'm not really sure how to pronounce his last name. I'm trying to give you credit, bro. On Twitter, DeAndre Swift now on pace for 189 carries and 102 catches during the 17-game season. He would join Christian McCaffrey and LaDainian Tomlinson and Matt Forte as the only running backs in history with 180 plus carries and 100 catches.
Damn.
Yeah. So he's on pace for a crazy fucking season. And quite honestly, running the football, not why you want not why you want Swift. He had 13 rushes for 48 yards. But
no,
it's really it's the 8 for 96 and a touchdown.
It's the catching. Yeah, he's not awful rushing, but he's really you're not really drafting him for that. It's the catches.
Plus, it's tough, man. Detroit's going to be down in games a lot. They're going to be dumping it off. He's built for that style, and he's damn good at it. He can house. Yeah. Obviously, he housed a 65-yard dump off, so he's absolutely capable. Moving on to the next game. This game, another fucking blowout. Arizona Cardinals at the Houston Texans, 31-5. Revenge game for DeAndre Hopkins. Wasn't as big as I thought it would be. 7 receptions, 53 yards, and a touchdown. Very solid. Very solid day. 9 targets. But yeah, I just had the feeling Hop was going to go off this game. It just didn't happen. Zach Ertz, though, first game with the Cardinals, 3 catches, 66 yards, and a touch. I mean,
yeah.
I still don't think he's going to be elite tight end, but he's very solid. No. I think he's way more valuable than he was when he was in Philly, and he was playing well in Philly, to be honest.
I agree. I think this offense being more high volume now and all that. He's
going to have opportunities
for him per se, but just passing,
he's absolutely going to have opportunities.
Good setup for him.
So it'll be interesting to see how his season goes moving forward. Kyler Murray, just another okay game. Didn't really rush. Did it all with his arm, fantasy wise. Still solid. Can't be mad at Kyler Murray. So Texans, they fucking suck. I did see that Tyrod Taylor was possibly going to practice today. I didn't look up and see if he did. If you're in a 2 quarterback or super flex league and he's out there, it might be worth storing because he was playing solid.
Let's see. This is okay as of today. Yeah, he will return to practice this Wednesday. Adam Schefter, ESPN reports.
So interesting possible option: super flex league or 2 quarterback league for some depth. Not that he's great, but as QB3, he was playing solid.
Yeah.
And right now, QB is the hardest thing to find outside of running back in a 2 QB league because they're usually all drafted. Moving on to the next game, the next blowout. He's so many fucking blowouts this week. The Buccaneers absolutely manhandled the Bears, fucking 38-3. This game was over in the first quarter. It was like 28-0, just like in a blink of an eye. Fields 5 turnovers.
They made him look every bit of the rookie that he is.
Yeah. Tough. One positive note for the Bears. Khalil Herbert, 18 for 100 against Tampa's D.
Yeah. That was extremely surprising against that Buccaneers defense.
Here's my question now. This is 2 weeks in a row. I think last week Herbert had 97 yards and a touchdown. This week 100 yards and a touchdown. Montgomery comes back. There might be a little bit of a committee, not like full-blown committee. I think Montgomery will still be like 80 to 75% of the shares.
Yeah.
But Herbert's earned some fucking runs. I mean, the kid's talented.
Yeah, I could see that, especially coming back, ease him in from the injury.
Yeah.
Still split that time. I mean, he's the way he's playing.
He's earned every bit of a right to continue getting handed the football. Mike Evans, huge game. Touchdown dependent. Yeah, I'll get 3. 6 catches, 75 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
I'll tell you what, this season, I was thinking about it earlier today. I'm like, maybe this is just one year where he just goes off all the fucking time, because honestly, he's only had 2 dud weeks, like the first week and then last week. Outside of that, this dude's been just going off.
Yeah, I mean, he's touchdown dependent. He's getting the touchdowns. Just like very beginning of the year, Adam Thielen, touchdown dependent. He was getting the touchdowns. So, and the 3 touchdowns, I don't know if you should expect that. Antonio Brown and Gronk were out again. They should be back next week, both of them, which would be interesting. Godwin had a monster game, 8 catches, 111 yards, and a touchdown. Got tackled at the 1-yard line, or he would have another touchdown. And fucking Uncle Lenny, another solid game, 15 attempts, 81 yards, and a touchdown. putting Rojo out of business, even though Rojo was like the main guy in the second half. I think Leonard, I don't even know if Leonard took a snap in the second half, to be honest with you. This game was over with so early.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Antonio Brown, I do know, I was looking at their schedule because obviously I was super high on Antonio Brown going into the year. Tampa Bay's schedule down the stretch and like in probably your playoff games for fantasy is like incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It was getting me stoked for the family league that we're in. We have Tom Brady and AB, and when we're in the playoffs, they're going to be playing like Carolina and the Jets and the Falcons. Yeah. And I was like, yes.
I just pulled it up to see. Here's from pretty much week 13 on, because week 13 would end about in normal leagues, right? That's about the end of the regular season, and then it starts playoffs in 16 or 17 week seasons, right before this year.
Yeah, 13 or 14.
So basically right about there, yeah, Atlanta, Buffalo, which would be tough, but then you got New Orleans, Carolina, Jets, Carolina.
Yeah. Let me eat. Yeah. So you're loving that if you got shares of Tampa Bay's offense. Unless you're completely out of the playoff race, which some people are. The Sunday night game or the Rain Bowl, I mean, this game was a fucking downpour. It looked like a hurricane.
Yeah, it was a sloppy ass, boring ass game.
It was. Normally we hang out till the end of games, and I left at halftime. I was like, I'm going home.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, 18 rushes, 170 yards and a touchdown. Like seems to be like his typical game now. He's just a very solid running back to have.
Yeah.
Michael Pittman, another big game, 4 receptions, 105 yards and a touchdown. Kind of had the touchdown that sealed it late. Debo, again, just doing his fucking thing. 7 receptions, 100 yards on the dot, and 11 targets. Thank God, because Garoppolo looked like fucking dog shit in this game. I know the weather was bad, but he looked horrible. And I know Shanahan was asked after the game if Trey was healthy, if he could get the starting job, and he said, I'm not going to name a starter yet. So who knows what's going to happen with that. I personally think he'll probably ride Garoppolo out at least a week or two, and then
I feel kind of the same,
and then see what happens. But
Shanahan will be kind of more loyal to Garoppolo.
Yeah. Elijah Mitchell came back, looked good. 18 rushes, 107 yards, and a touchdown. He was shredding them early, but they kind of got away from it. Honestly, the turnovers, Indianapolis going down the field and scoring, they kind of had to start getting to the throws. Here's the biggest thing from this game. I asked you this 2 weeks ago. Brandon Ayuk, droppable yet?
Yes.
Yeah. 100%, man. Yeah. Get him the fuck off your roster if you got him. Try to trade him low. Hell, I don't care if you trade him for Amon-Ra St. Brown. Get him the fuck off your roster and try to get something.
St. Brown, I don't even know if I'd make that trade.
I wouldn't. But somebody in your league's probably stupid enough to fall for the name. Still.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't. He's getting way more targets than even fucking Ayuk.
Ayuk muffed a punt in this game. It was almost a safety. I'm not sure how that's not a safety when you touch the ball at the 20.
It was a really weird play.
Just because it rolled into the end zone from the punt, it touched the player at the fucking 15, 20-yard line. How is that still the punt? But regardless, Ayuk should be off your fucking roster. Debo's back, and unless Debo gets hurt, I don't think Ayuk's ever gonna be worth a damn thing.
No.
And that wraps up all the games, man. That wraps them up. Crazy week of blowouts. Only thing I want to mention came out today. I'm kind of pissed about it because I have him in a league. Devontae Adams put on the COVID reserve list today.
Seen that.
Yeah. He's not doubtful, but there's a good chance he's going to miss Thursday night, which would suck. It would really suck. Because it would be fun to see DeAndre Hopkins and Devontae Adams going at it. But it is what it is. COVID, we know it's bound to happen every now and then to players.
Yeah.
Anything else you can think of that I missed? Tried to hit everything. I tried to break it all down, bro.
I think that was about it. I mean, nothing in particular.
All right. Got second quarter Monday Night Football, 7-3 Seahawks. Gino just threw a pick, I think. And they're talking to Tom Brady, the GOAT. 600 career passing touchdowns. Crazy. That's fucking insane, bro. Yeah. I saw something that Matthew Stafford threw for his 300th, and I was like, damn, he's got to play another 15 years.
For real. I don't think that's happening.
Yeah. It's incredible what Brady's done, man. He's like 44 years old or something. And playing, I mean, honestly, he's got to be one of the MVP leaders at this point.
I would say so. He's been playing fucking hella great.
Isn't it funny? Fucking Mike Williams gave away his 600th ball to a fan. They had to.
Evans, yeah.
Yeah. They had to get it back.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have given it back for what that guy got.
You got a lot, man. You get an IOU from Tom Brady, bro. You get an IOU from Tom Brady. You know it's cash. He didn't say it. He said, "I'll give him something nice."
Okay. Because I would unfortunately one of the assholes was like, "Come on, dude. I know this could be very valuable to some people. Like, just give me some cash."
More than valuable. But yeah, they're giving him a few jerseys, a signed helmets, $1,000 gift card to the team shop, which is like whatever. But then Brady said, Brady was like, I'll make sure he gets something nice. And it's like, Tom Brady's basically saying, I owe you.
Yeah.
All right. Like, invite me over for dinner with Giselle, bro. I mean, come on. Like,
just dinner with Brady.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, would you pass that up?
No.
No. I would give him a football for that, dude. It's a fucking football. But yeah, that was it. Fun week of football, but like a blowout week. It was weird. Outside of the Thursday night game, even that felt like a blowout, but it was a 3-point game, but it felt like a blowout. So there were blowouts all over the place. So honestly, it kind of sets up some upsets next week. Be honest, that's just how the league works. Always evens itself out. Watch. You know who it would be too? This would be crazy if the Jets beat the Bengals. Bengals annihilate the Ravens, and then they go and they face Joe Flacco and lose.
That's right.
That would be a very Cincinnati thing to do too. I don't see it happening, but
I don't either. But like, it's a definite possibility.
Yeah, that's one of those things that just might happen. But other than that, we will be back Wednesday.
Yep.
Me and you will be doing a video. I don't know what we're going to talk about yet. We could probably rip apart how bad Dune was.
I got to finish that, yeah. I have to finish that.
Okay. You probably already did.
Yeah, I know. Even though it's ruined, I have to at least finish it. Because I did want to see it. I'd got to see at least how the rest of it goes.
Yeah. So, I don't know what we'll talk about. We'll find something. But Adam's working overtime, so he won't be here Wednesday. And then Saturday, it'll be me, you, and Joe again, I believe. And in a few weeks, we should have our studio at least test ready.
Yeah, we're in the process of setting up a nice little studio.
So big things coming into podcast. Also, look for a new logo. We're getting our logo revised right now.
Makeover.
So we'll see what happens. A little branding change here at the Cantina. So we'll see you guys.
Construction.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Wednesday. Until then, have a great night and deuces.